If you guys want to know how I learned coding in Python from scratch and made a career for myself as a data scientist in Silicon Beach, stick around. I recently graduated from USC with 2 masters. One of them was in applied data science and the other one was in communication management. And this is what happens when I enter the class for the first time. I see all these guys who are from like IIT, which is like the MIT of India, and Berkeley and UC Irvine and all these fancy colleges, all CS guys who have been coding for most of their lives. And I was in shock because I had never written code before. And these guys were at some like pro level stuff. And I was shook. Now, before you ask me how I got into USC without knowing anything, that's topic for a different video and we'll cover that in a separate video altogether. But let's stick to how I learned coding from scratch like an absolute beginner and got myself a job in coding. Now, before we begin, I just want to let you know, Python is a very vast language. There are 2 aspects to learning Python. You can learn the basics first and then apply it to a specific domain, and that's how it happens. That's why today I have split it into 2 different parts, the active learning and the passive learning. Active learning is the one where you're going to put in all your time and effort into learning this one language, Python, and you'll develop your coding skills in it, and that's what is the topic of the video today. The other one is passive learning, where you have learned the basics and you've also selected a domain, and now you're just learning as you go along, as and when the need arises for that particular stuff. The moment you go online and search in Google how to learn Python, a bunch of online courses pop up. There's Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, lynda.com. Now the good news is that the basics are going to remain the same everywhere. The basics of a language do not change, especially an open source language. Now, after you're done with the basics, I would highly recommend that you do not just jump into like different frameworks like Django, Flask. Don't all these words confuse you as to why are they a part of Python, what is a framework, and why do you need it. Let that be for your specific application. If you need it, go ahead and learn it. And also another thing that I want to tell you about Python. Python is a very good language and it can do almost everything. But here's the thing, do not get emotionally attached to a language and don't just feel that you just learn this one language and you will make it your career in tech. No, every language has its pros and cons. Python has a lot of pros. It can be used in almost every field. It is a rapid prototyping tool and it's my personal favorite. But there are things which Python is not good at. Can you develop apps in Python like iOS and Android? Yes, you can. Should you? No, there are better languages to do that. All right, let's begin. You're currently here. You're sad. You are what we call in programming a noob. Now let's begin our 1-month course. This is where you pick any course. It could be a free course on YouTube or you could pay for it on Coursera or any other website that you want to start and just begin. This is a phase where you're going to download your IDE. IDE is a place where you actually write stuff and you get to see the results. So if you were going for data science, it would be most probably something known as Anaconda or Jupyter Notebooks or Jupyter Labs. And if you were going for general dev, it would have been most probably PyCharm. So now that you're familiar with the environment, let's move on to concepts in week 2. Week 2 is where you learn about the loops and conditional statements, the data structures, the list and dictionaries. This is what every coding language is based off. These are the basics. Week 3 is where you learn about OOPS. OOPS means object-oriented programming. Now, if you're in data science, you don't necessarily need to use them. But if you're going to be a developer, and any developer worth his salt is going to know those concepts like inheritance, so on and so forth. Also, you get introduced to libraries. Now, libraries are a set of functions that have already been written for you so that you don't have to repeat code. For example, if you want to do web scraping, Beautiful Soup is a library which is already going to do a lot of stuff again and again, which you don't need to do. Similarly, NumPy and Pandas are wonderful libraries for data science so that you don't have to keep writing the same code again and again. Week 4, this is the judgment day. This is where you package everything that you have learned till now and think of a business application and actually do a project that might be presentable. Think of what is useful in your particular domain. If you were going for data science, pick up a data science project, include everything. If you wanted to go for front-end dev, think of something where you could develop something in a framework for the front end. And now you're a baller. And side note, don't be a programmer. Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. Now, if you like the video, do not forget to subscribe and like the video. And if you want the gods of Python to bless you with all this coding knowledge, press the bell icon. The last tip that I want to leave you with is that I was one of those guys who was scared of programming, and I used to see all those guys, CS guys especially, who were into coding, and I was like, I could never do that. But here's the thing, I developed a genuine love and passion for the language the moment I started realizing what all can be achieved through it, and especially the business application. And that's my tip to you. If you really want to make it as a developer or just want to learn coding in general, you need to fall in love with the process and the end result of what can be achieved through it. Especially that's what worked for me. Because if you do not like the language and you don't like coding, it is going to be a long and hard journey. And trust me, you're not going to be good at it. It's just not going to work out. So make it a fun process, trust the process, and don't be a programmer. Peace out.